Well, guys, as you know, we have an election right around the corner, and people are truly getting crazier as we get closer to election day. I've seen so many wild takes, alarmist views that people seem to genuinely believe about the Trump campaign. Now, one of you sent me this video that was made by a collection of leftist influencers, and they are outright telling lies, doomsday ones at that, about the Trump campaign. I thought this video was absolutely insane. They told so many lies. In fact, nearly every claim was a lie, so I posted it on X and actually got a response from Elon Musk, who essentially said, "This is crazy." So today we're gonna respond to this video and debunk every single one of the lies told as fast as we can. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, you better. Yeah, you better.
Guys, before we get into today's video, please like and subscribe, and a special shout out to Abby, who sent this video over to us because she knew I needed to see this and she knew I needed to respond. Without further ado, let's get right into it.
Oh, I got too political? My bad. I just don't know if I'll be able to own a credit card without my husband's permission in 7 days.
We're starting off really great here. There is nowhere in the Trump campaign that states that there is any intent of getting rid of women's ability to have a credit card without the permission of their husbands. So don't worry, you're gonna be just fine. Let's keep watching.
Oh, did I get too political? My bad. I just don't know if I want to get rid of overtime in 7 days.
Getting rid of overtime in 7 days. Again, nowhere in the Trump campaign is it stated that there is going to be any efforts to get rid of overtime. In fact, we have this article that states, JD Vance says Trump plan to remove taxes on overtime pay reflects that, quote, Republicans believe American workers should keep more of their own money. Essentially, the plan is here that there are a lot of Americans who are working overtime, when that is time and a half pay, for those of you who are unfamiliar. Now, these are really hardworking people who are choosing to work over 40 hours a week and dedicate themselves to their occupation. Trump and Vance believe that you shouldn't be taxed on that overtime pay, meaning you get more money in your pockets. So I don't know at what point they became confused that this was a plan to get rid of overtime when they're in fact trying to reward those who are working it. Moving on.
Oh, I've gotten too political? My bad. I just want to make sure I have access to birth control in 7 days.
Ah, yes, we are back to the reproductive health conversation. This seems to be the pinnacle issue, I guess, for Democrats. It's the one that they are focusing on the most. Kamala Harris is speaking about it at all her rallies. When I'm looking around at the United States of America, there are a lot of issues that are far more important to me than that of abortion, but I guess different strokes for different folks. Pun intended? And here we have the claim that Trump wants to ban birth control, meaning that women will not have access to it. Again, don't worry, this is not something that's happening. Here's an article out of Politico. It is titled, Trump says he won't ban birth control. Here's what he may do instead. So when the left can't get him on issues because they're making these baseless accusations, they print a headline that says something great. You know, Trump won't ban your access to birth control. And then they try to twist it around to say, here's what he might do instead. There's another line of attack that he has planned for American women. Trust you're gonna be okay. And if you wanna keep popping birth control pills, you'll be able to do so. And of course, this whole lie, and yes, it is a lie that Trump wants to ban birth control, is predicated on this 900+ page paper that was put out called Project 2025 by the Heritage Foundation, which Trump says he is in no way, shape, or form associated with. Even the former director of Project 2025 says, don't worry, Trump has nothing to do with Project 2025.
Trump has nothing to do with Project 2025.
Or the plan that they've written out in this 900+ page document. In fact, the Heritage Foundation and this whole project for expanding republicanism within the United States has been around for decades. It actually predates Trump's involvement in politics. So you're okay. All right, a few lies down, many more to go. Let's keep watching.
Oh, I got too political? My bad. I guess I don't know if I'm gonna be a US citizen in 7 days.
I mean, I have some follow-up questions. Are you a citizen now? At what point has the Trump-Vance campaign stated anything about revoking the citizenship of anybody living here in the United States? Now, of course, we've had many extensive conversations about illegal immigrants, but if you're not an illegal immigrant, and specifically one who is not contributing or is committing crimes in this country, I think you're gonna be okay. And I actually say this as somebody who's in a relationship with an immigrant who became a US citizen. Trust, he's not getting deported. Next.
Oh, I got too political? My bad. I'm just worried I won't be able to love who I love in 7 days.
All right, now they're going to be policing who it is you love. The Trump Gestapo is going to knock on your door and ask you who you're in a relationship with or who you have feelings for. I think not. Trump has long stood in support of LGBTQ people, actually, and this might shock a lot of people who have been engaging with the TDS propaganda that is constantly put out by the media. But if you want to hear some anti-LGBTQ sentiments, don't look in Trump's past. Actually look in the past of many of your major Democrat politicians. Now, I'm going to bring in a little help and reinforcement on debunking this next lie. You're going to hear it from Jake Paul, who recently came out and endorsed Donald Trump from Puerto Rico, which we're going to get into in just a second. Let's watch.
I'm all for guys that like men, but it's just not my thing.
I will do everything in my power to protect our LGBTQ citizens.
And then we pull up Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, and Joe Biden, who are all Democrats, being anti-gay and anti-gay marriage and campaigning it publicly. It's on camera. Roll the clip.
Do you support gay marriage?
No, Barack Obama nor I support redefining from a civil side what constitutes marriage.
I believe that marriage is the union between a man and a woman.
I believe that marriage is not just a bond, but a sacred bond between a man and a woman.
That's awkward. And you might think, oh, well, they just changed their minds. That's how progressive they really are. Well, how progressive is Trump if he didn't have to change his mind in the first place? He was already there.
Did I get political? My bad. I just don't want my mother to be denied her health care because she has a pre-existing condition.
All right, a very strong allegation that people with pre-existing conditions are not going to be covered by health insurance at all. This is out of CNN. The article is titled, "Fact-checked Vance's Promise to Cover People with Pre-Existing Conditions." So apparently this has been promised by the Trump-Vance campaign. In an interview on NBC's Meet the Press, Vance said that Trump's plan is actually quite straightforward. You want to make sure that pre-existing coverage conditions are covered. You want to make sure that people have access to the doctors that they need. You also want to implement some deregulatory agenda so that people can choose a healthcare plan that fits them. We want to make sure everybody is covered. But the best way to do that is actually to promote some more choice in our healthcare system and not have a one-size-fits-all approach that puts a lot of people in the same insurance pools into the same risk pools that actually make it harder for people to make the right choices for their families. Now, CNN goes on to fact check Vance on this claim to add a little bit more context, and what they're concerned about is that if you change the risk pools that are associated with health insurance, meaning you have lower risk and higher risk pools, pre-existing conditions are going to fall into higher risk pools, which might drive up their premiums and maybe price people out of health insurance. And I'll be the first to admit, I can see that there are some valid concerns from people who are criticizing Trump and Vance's position on healthcare. It is interesting that you sort of have two problems that exist here. If everybody is in the same risk pool, it seems that healthier people might be subsidizing the healthcare costs of those who are unhealthier and those with pre-existing conditions. Now, on the flip side, with increasing choice, as Vance states, it is possible that there could be higher premiums given to those with pre-existing conditions, and that would be an issue for them to deal with. It's a conversation that most definitely requires nuance, and I could see how people could be swayed in either direction. But trust, I found nowhere in the Trump-Vance campaign that said that they were going to leave people with pre-existing conditions out for the wolves. They've stated on multiple occasions that they want everybody covered. That includes those with pre-existing conditions. They just have a different approach. And we can talk about whether or not that approach is better, but you can't lie and say that they don't want people with certain conditions to have health care.
I'm being too political? My bad. I'm just fighting for the future of my daughter.
There's a lot of argument that could be made for the case that they're not fighting for the futures of daughters. But we don't have to talk about that right now. I get that abortion is a major issue for many people in this country and women in particular. And guess what? It's a position that Trump and Vance, in comparison to other Republicans, have a pretty soft stance on. And really, their position on abortion doesn't matter because they'll be functioning on the federal level. And because Roe v. Wade has been overturned, it's going to be decided by your state, which means you have more voice in the process. And the majority of United States citizens are pro-choice. And this means that your access to abortion is more than likely not going to change. And the worry is not a one-way street. I'm worried about the future of my daughters as well. I'm worried about the invasion that's currently taking place at our southern border. I'm worried about the fact that we're redefining what it even means to be a daughter at all. I'm worried about the rewriting of Title IX that now allows biological men to be in their locker rooms, bathrooms, sports. I'm worried about the economy that they will be experiencing and whether or not that economy is going to stifle their ability to be able to live the American dream. I'm worried about the new Jim Crow era that is being ushered in by the political left that is going to have them divided based on their race and superficial identity characteristics. I'm worried about their physical safety as crime seems to be on the rise. I'm worried about their ability to speak freely as our First Amendment is constantly under siege by the political left. Need I go on? I think we're all worried about our daughters and sons, and I don't even have them yet. But let's keep watching.
I got too political? My bad. It's just that I don't know if my family in Western North Carolina will be warned of the hurricane coming in 7 days when the National Weather Service is gone.
Okay, I mean, like, this one was really out of left field. I was like, what are they talking about? The National Weather Service is going to be gone. But then they go back once again to Project 2025, which I will say, once again, Donald Trump has nothing to do with and is not associated with. But I did find this article out of the Washington Post that says Project 2025 proposes breaking up the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, the parent agency for the National Weather Service, describing it as one of the main drivers of the climate change alarm industry. Now, throughout Project 2025's many documents, there are mentions of gutting many federal agencies, this one included, which is the parent agency of the National Weather Service. But at no point does it say it doesn't want Americans to be warned about incoming hurricanes. If anything, their alternate proposal is for these sorts of agencies to be privatized. There's also been separate Republican proposals to turn these sorts of agencies into independent agencies, akin to NASA, a plan critics say could expose it to political influence. So first of all, we can throw out the lie that people are not going to be warned about hurricanes because what are you saying? And we actually have quite a lot of evidence to reinforce the ideas behind privatizing some of these agencies, because sometimes things in the private sector work better than your federal government doing them for you. Shocker. And it's interesting that this article actually mentions NASA, because when we look to the private sector and see what is maybe the equivalent to NASA in SpaceX, they seem to be outperforming NASA. While NASA is bogged down about conversations about diversity, equity, and inclusion, Elon Musk is catching boosters from rockets out of the sky for the very first time in human history. So you might even get those hurricane warnings a little earlier and with a little more accuracy. Moving on.
Oh, I got too political? My bad. I don't want them to start rounding up immigrants to deport in 7 days.
Actually, I don't really know about that one. It's kind of more of a selling point for me.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
And let me clarify a little bit on this position. If we're going to be rounding up illegal immigrants, emphasis on the illegal, I prefer it be the ones who are not contributing to our society, who are criminals prior to entering this country, who are criminals after entering this country, who go on to commit crimes against fellow American citizens, and those who are burdening the American system, meaning that your tax dollars are funding them rather than your fellow citizens. That all sounds pretty reasonable to me, and I'm not going to be voting for the candidate that is just allowing millions of people to come in through our southern border all willy-nilly. Next.
Oh, I got too political? My bad. The only reason I have a daughter is because of IVF.
Congratulations on your IVF daughter, and congratulations on the news I'm about to offer you. If we have a Trump-Vance administration, IVF is still going to be readily available. And if you want to hear it from Trump and Vance themselves, let's roll the clip.
I'm announcing today in a major statement that under the Trump administration, your government will pay for, or your insurance company will be mandated to pay for, all costs associated with IVF treatment, fertilization for women, IVF treatment. Because we want more babies.
And just in case you think Vance is somehow secretly harboring a position that's anti-IVF, let's roll his clip.
For families to access important fertility treatments, there is a slander going around that Republicans are against fertility treatments. Ladies and gentlemen, we want families to be able to start. We want families to be able to grow, and we're going to fight for it every step of the way.
In fact, there are Republicans and Republican Christians specifically who are super pissed at Trump and Vance for even having this position on IVF. This tweet says, Vance agrees that Jesus is king in word, but spurns his lordship in deed by supporting child sacrifice in the form of abortion and IVF. Need I say more?
Oh, I got too political? I just don't really want JD Vance tracking my periods in 7 days.
Again, the tracking period lie. I've heard this all over the left, and I've even heard it from the mouth of Kamala Harris. And this one's crazy because it's attributed to Project 2025, but it is also a lie about Project 2025. Nowhere in the 900+ page document do they mention anything about tracking periods and menstrual cycles. This has even been fact-checked on Reuters, and Reuters says, hey, this is a lie about Project 2025. And it was actually based on a satirical post that was made about tracking menstrual cycles cycles and is nowhere found in the 900-page document. So you can stop saying you're going to be living in the Handmaid's Tale because you are literally living in delusion. Shouldn't that set your mind at ease that what you're repeating is actually a lie? And nowhere in your life are you going to be faced with the oppression of having your menstrual cycle tracked.
I got too political, my bad. I don't want Trump to take over the Board of Education, put in his lackeys, his loyalists, and have y'all continue to think that Puerto Rico is not a part of America.
Now she says Board of Education, I think she means Department of Education. Trump's stance on the Department of Education is that they handle responsibilities that should be handled by the states, because moving it down to your state government is probably going to be better for all the children involved. Now this is actually a position that I agree with, much like the position on abortion, that it should be moved to the states. The federal government is supposed to do a small list of things and do that small list of things very well, and now the government is just doing a bunch of and very poorly. Just look at the state of American education right now and tell me we're in a good place. If you can substantiate that opinion, maybe I'll hear you out on the Department of Education, but they have a pretty abysmal track record. Our kids are falling behind. They're being indoctrinated with leftist political agendas in schools, and there are actually people advocating that parents not have curriculum transparency when it comes to what their kids are being taught in class. And where the current Biden administration believes that, I guess, your kids are owned by the federal government, Trump is saying the federal government needs to step back a bit, and I 100% support that. And as far as them not knowing the impact of Puerto Rico on the United States, here's Trump talking about Puerto Rico.
And I'm so proud that we're getting support from Latinos like never before. We're setting every record. Hispanics, Latinos. Nobody loves our Latino community and our Puerto Rican community more than I do. Nobody. You know, it's interesting because I've done more for Puerto Rico than any president by far. Nobody close. I provided historic funding and the hospital ship when they were hit with a couple of really bad ones right in a row. We got the ship over there with thousands of rooms, actually. It was amazing. A floating hospital, the biggest in the world. I will deliver the best future for Puerto Ricans and for Hispanic Americans.
Oh, and it's so funny that at the end she says,
open the schools.
Who's got the track record of closing schools? In fact, which party is the reason that our kids are falling so far behind and that many of them missed out on their education for 2 years, if not more? If you want the schools open, you're gonna have to look to the right, not to the left. Funny thing is, a lot of kids don't know their left from their right because of what the Democrats did to their education. You don't get those 2 years of pivotal childhood development and education back. So yeah, open the schools. And just like that, we've gotten through this video, guys. Whew. Didn't even break a sweat. Many lies in quick succession, and we got through each and every one of them. And hopefully I've made my case as to why these are lies that are fueled by Trump Derangement Syndrome and orange man bad feelings that these people have been told to think and feel. And in the end, you really are being too political because your entire brain is fueled by political propaganda rather than actual objective facts. And you know what? I really can't blame them with the amount of propaganda that the media has put out about this man, the amount of lies that they've been told. But now that you've been handed the truth on a silver platter, perfectly edited for you to fact check and see for yourself, you have no excuse. So send this over to somebody who you know who might be believing some of the lies that were shared in this video. We fact checked them so they can get a reality check. And let me know anything I might have left out in my research here. We always need the extra hands and the extra help. Guys, those are my thoughts. Drop your thoughts in the comments down below. As always, I encourage healthy debate, so if you disagree with anything said in this video, duke it out down below, but do so respectfully. And if you like this video, like, subscribe, click the notification bell to be notified every single time I post a video for you guys, which is every day, and I will see you next time. Bye, guys.
Yeah, you better. Yeah, you better.